Hi everyone, welcome to this talk on cluster management in Couchbase, where we will cover a wide range of topics in the context of managing data in a distributed environment. My name is Kishan Iyer, and I'm a content engineer at Lunicorn. We make a variety of different e-learning courses which are available on various platforms. I have personally authored a number of Couchbase courses which you may access at pluralsight.com. Here's a quick overview of the topics we will cover in this talk. We will start off with a look at the need for cluster management in general, and also how this applies to Couchbase. And when it comes to managing data in a cluster, well, we do need to understand exactly what buckets and vBuckets are, since in Couchbase, these play a significant role in how data is distributed in a cluster. All of this makes it easy for us to recover from the failure of individual nodes within the cluster. And this is something which I will demonstrate when I will simulate a failover process. And finally, we will wrap up by examining some of the best practices when it comes to managing a cluster in Couchbase. So for the first topic in our agenda, we start off by looking at the need for cluster management. So we begin with the first topic on the agenda, which is the need for cluster management. So many of you will be aware of the fact that when it comes to Couchbase, there are a number of different services. Possibly you could say at the heart of everything is the data service. And then in order to access the data, well, we have the query service. So this allows us to run nickel queries against the data. And in order to optimize those query executions, we have the index service. There is the analytics service, which allows us to run analytics operations. And this is run separately from the operational data usually. Then there is the eventing service, which allows us to respond to any modifications in the data. And for full text documents, we have the search service. So in this case, there are 6 different services which are available in Couchbase. And broadly speaking, you could say that they all have a single goal, which is to make it easy and also to optimize the access and maintenance of the data in the database. And significantly, all of these services can be deployed on multiple nodes in a Couchbase cluster. And each individual service can also be scaled within the cluster. We will get to that a little bit later on. So given that all the services can be deployed on a cluster, what are some of the benefits of this approach? Well, when it comes to the data service, a significant plus is the fact that it makes the data highly available. So if you have multiple replicas of the data, even if individual nodes within the cluster were to fail, well, we can simply activate the replicas and then all the data will always remain available to us. Also, when we have multiple nodes in a cluster, it makes it easy for us to increase the throughput since we could run multiple tasks in parallel on a number of different nodes. Also, having multiple nodes makes it easy to distribute the load across the available resources. And an important point, which we will also touch upon later on, is that it allows us to make strategic use of the available resources. For example, if we have certain machines which are high in CPU, well, we could deploy the query service on those, and nodes which are high in memory, we could have the index service run on those. However, in order to understand how things work in a cluster, we will focus on the data service, though we will touch upon some of the others as well. The data service being easiest from the point of view of understanding how exactly data is split up in a cluster and what effect this could have on how we set things up. In the context of the data service and clusters, it becomes important for us to be familiar with the topics of buckets and vBuckets. So buckets, as many of you should be aware, can be thought of as a collection of related key and value pairs, where the values in this case could be either binary objects or JSON documents. And once you have enough data in a bucket, it is likely that all of it cannot really fit on a single node. So you will need to have a cluster in place in order to manage all of your bucket data. And beyond that, in order to ensure a fair distribution of the load, you'll also want that data to be evenly distributed across the nodes. Beyond that, you may also want your bucket data to be replicated in order to make it easy to recover from node failures. So given that we have some of these requirements in the context of buckets, well, working with a bucket as a single unit, well, this is just a little too coarse and it's too large of a unit. And at the other end, working with individual items is way too fine-grained. A happy medium is achieved with the notion of vBuckets. So what exactly are vBuckets? Well, while buckets do exist in the logical sense, when it comes to how data is actually represented on disk, well, these are implemented as vBuckets. So each bucket in Couchbase is split up into 1024 vBuckets, assuming you work on Linux or Windows. It's fewer when it comes to Mac OS. So you now have 1024 vBuckets for each bucket, and Couchbase will ensure that all of the items in the bucket are evenly split across these 1024 vBuckets. Beyond that, the vBuckets themselves are evenly distributed across the nodes in the cluster. This depends on the amount of memory and storage available in each of them. But in this manner, you get an even distribution of all of the items via the medium of vBuckets. Beyond that, when it comes to creating replicas of your data, it is the vBuckets themselves for which clones or replicas are created. So what does this have to do with managing data in a cluster and significantly recovering from node failures? So let me walk you through an example. So we assume for the sake of simplicity that our bucket is split up into just 6 vBuckets, and we have 3 nodes in our Couchbase cluster, or specifically 3 data service nodes. And we can assume that the 6 vBuckets are split evenly across these 3 nodes. Importantly, all of these are active vBuckets. But if we do have replication enabled, well, let's just say we have a single replica for each of these vBuckets. And these will also be evenly distributed across the available nodes. So we have 6 active vBuckets and 6 replicas. But one important piece of information here is that the placement of the active and replica copies is significant. What do I mean by that? Well, you will notice that the active and replicas are never placed on the same node. So this is one set of vBuckets for which the active and replica copies are on different nodes. This also applies to vBuckets 3 and 4, and for the final 2 vBuckets as well. And this placement is deliberate, and there is a specific purpose for this, in that it makes it easy for Couchbase to recover from node failures. So for the sake of our example, let's assume that one of the 3 nodes were to fail. So this previously had the active copies of vBuckets 5 and 6. But these active copies are no longer reachable, in which case Couchbase will pick up on the fact that the node is unavailable and then promote the replicas on node number 1 to the active state, in which case all 6 of the vBuckets are still available. So from the point of view of the end user, there is no real disruption in service. Now, once we only have 2 nodes in place, well, you may want to perform a rebalance to ensure that all of the active and replica copies are evenly split. All of this said, however, what we have just gone through in this scenario I just described is a failover process. So this is where one of the nodes is effectively deactivated in the cluster, and then the replicas which are on a different node are promoted to an active state. So this is one way to ensure the high availability of our data. And even in the context of failovers, there are two categories for Couchbase: hard failovers and soft failovers. So hard failovers are where pretty much what we just described. So a hard failover is pretty much the scenario which we just went over, where one of the nodes suddenly becomes unavailable. And in reaction to that, well, we need to promote one of the replicas from one of the available nodes so that the data is always available. In contrast, a soft failover is when we actively, that is proactively, take a node down. So let's just say one of the nodes needs to have some maintenance work performed, like the upgrade of the operating system, for instance. Well, we'll just go into our cluster and then perform a soft failover so that for all of the active V buckets on the node which is being taken down for maintenance, the replicas are activated on one of the other nodes. So in many cases, a failover operation like this should be followed by a rebalance to again ensure an even split of the data. So what exactly is a rebalance? Well, in the example which we just covered, we saw that there is a skew in terms of how the data is distributed after a failover, in which case, to ensure the even load distribution, we can perform a rebalance operation. And Couchbase will again go through all of the available data and the available resources and then do an even distribution. One thing I must mention in this context is that this could lead to a loss of replicas unless we account for it. I won't really dive into this topic for now, though. Having examined the failover process in theory, it's now time for us to look at it in practice. To do that, I have provisioned 3 different VMs on the Azure Cloud Platform, and all of these have Couchbase installed on them. In fact, I have set up a Couchbase cluster using these 3 nodes. And moving along to the Couchbase web UI, well, you'll observe that I have loaded one of the sample buckets which comes packaged with Couchbase. This is the beer sample bucket. And what is significant for this demo is that it contains a total of a little over 7,300 items. And the reason for this is that when we head over to the server section, you'll observe that these 7,300 items are split roughly evenly over the 3 nodes. From the item section here, that becomes quite clear. So there are roughly 2,400 items on each of the nodes. And zooming in on one of these, you'll observe that for node number 1, there are 2,475 active items and 2,422 inactive ones, or replica items. All right. So this is the setup which I'm working with in order to demonstrate the failover process. Before we proceed though, I'm going to head over to the query section, and I'm just going to run a simple query against the beer sample bucket which we have loaded. So it doesn't really matter what the query is. What is significant is that when running this, well, the 117 documents which this query returns now show up in a little over a second. All right. So just to summarize, we have a Couchbase cluster with 3 nodes, and the data is replicated over here. And importantly, we have a running query. All is well and good. But what happens if one of these 3 servers were to fail? So for that, well, before we dive in, let me show you some of the settings which I have in place. Significantly, you will notice that the auto failover process is now set to kick in 60 seconds after a failure has been detected. In fact, I'm going to change this over to 30 seconds. And the reason for this is because I'm going to head over and just shut down one of the 3 nodes in the cluster and see where the auto failover kicks in and how this affects the availability of the data. So I'll just save down the settings. And in order to view the effect of the shutdown on the nodes, I'm just going to pull up the server page and over to my cloud platform, where I will go ahead, pick one of the nodes, and then hit stop. So this could take a minute or two, but I'll just switch over then to the Couchbase web UI. And in fact, Couchbase has already picked up on the fact that the node is no longer available. Just to see what effect this can have on the access to the data, I'll quickly head over to the query section, re-execute this query, which just a few moments ago was working just fine. But now it takes, well, almost forever to run. So I'll just wait and nothing so far. But you'll observe that a window has just popped up, which points to the fact that a failover process has taken place. Now, I'll just get to the server's page to see what the effect of that is. But let me just close this down and re-execute this query. And once again, the 117 documents are returned. So what exactly has happened? When we head to the server section, well, you'll observe that the 7,300 documents are still available across the 2 nodes that are still in the cluster. That is the 2 nodes which are still active. So in the background, what Couchbase has done is that it has taken the 2413 nodes, the 2413 active items in node number 3, which was no longer reachable, and then split this across the 2 active nodes. So what we have now are all the data has all been recovered, and our query is still able to run. So there was just a 30-second period where the data was unreachable. So this is how the failover process works in Couchbase and how we can set an auto failover in case a node or 2 happens to be unreachable. Now, at this point, I'll draw your attention to the fact that the number of replicas in the current system is still only, or replica items is only about 2,400. That is 2/3 of all of the data. So this is something which could happen if there is a failure followed by a failover. And in which case, we can just perform a rebalance. And this could take, of course, a minute or two. And you'll observe that in the background, node number 3 has disappeared. So it has effectively been removed from the cluster. And from the existing nodes, we will be back to all the 7,300 plus active items. And we will have the same number of replicas as well. So this should just happen in a moment. And the rebalance process is complete. And you can see here that we're back to having about 3,600 active and replica items on each of the nodes. So this was a quick demonstration of how the failover process works and how auto failover can help us quickly recover from any failures on individual nodes in a cluster. Having covered how we can set up a Couchbase cluster in order to recover from node failures, let's take a look at some of the best practices when it comes to cluster management. So we have seen that there are 6 different Couchbase services, and we will now cover some of the best practices with regards to each of them. So when it comes to the data service, well, one important concept which you can introduce is server groups. So this is an extension of what we have already seen, but server groups allow us to recover from the failure of an entire data center. So imagine that you have a Couchbase cluster which spans multiple data centers. Well, you can create server groups for each of the nodes which lie in the same data center. And what Couchbase will do in this case is to ensure that any active data which is placed in one server group has a replica which is placed in a different server group. What this means is that if your data service, or rather your data center, were to fail for some reason, the cluster is still able to recover the data. So the failure of a data center can happen, let's just say in the case of a natural disaster or a blackout, and server groups will allow you, of course, to recover from it. One thing to note though, is that server groups is only available for the data service, and you require at least 3 different groups for this to be meaningful. Moving on then to some of the best practices with regards to the other services. And broadly speaking, these have to do with using the available resources in the most optimal manner when it comes to deploying your services. So let's just say in a cluster, you have several nodes, and some of these happen to be rather beefed up in terms of processing power. Well, you should deploy the query service on such nodes, since those operations tend to be very CPU intensive. On the other hand, if there are nodes which have a lot of memory, you could deploy the index service on those, since these require more memory. And the search service does have a lot in common with the index service. So again, these should be deployed on nodes which do have a lot of memory. And when it comes to the analytics service, well, in many cases, the requirements for data analysis is different from what is required for the operational database, in which case Couchbase recommends that the analytics service should be deployed on an entirely different set of machines. And this is to ensure that analytics operations don't interfere with the operational database itself. And then there is the topic of having specialized nodes within your cluster. So even though all Couchbase services can be deployed on every single node, it is better for us to have certain nodes which are meant for certain services. So as an example, consider that you have 10 nodes in your cluster. Well, you could use 3 of them just for the index service. So why exactly might you do this? Well, one goal is to have workload isolation, and if the index service is not interfered with by any of the other services, it will be able to perform in an optimal manner. Also, having such a setup allows each of the services to be scaled entirely independently of the rest. So sticking with our example, if we wanted to scale up the index service from 3 nodes to 4, well, we can just add in another index service node, and the other services are unaffected by this. And another important factor which touches upon what we discussed already is that this allows us to tailor hardware to the service we wish to deploy. So sticking with the example of adding a new node for the index service, well, once we've made that decision to scale it up, we can add in a new node which has a lot of memory so that it is appropriate for the index service. With that said, we can quickly revisit something we discussed a little earlier on in this presentation, specifically that the goal of all of the Couchbase services is to make it easier for us in order to maintain and also to access the data present in our database. And if you do follow all of the best practices which we just discussed, well, that just becomes a lot easier. All right, with that said, we come to the end of the best practices portion of this talk, and also to the end of the talk itself. So here are some of my details. And you could check out my own company's webpage at lunicorn.com. Or if you'd like to check out my Couchbase courses, you can just sign in to pluralsight.com and then search for my name. So we've now covered many different aspects of maintaining a cluster in Couchbase. So we've seen some of the challenges when it comes to working with multiple nodes, and how it is possible for us to recover from failures as long as we have some of the cluster configurations and replicas set up correctly. So overall, I hope you did find something useful in here.